Hey Sudbury, here's step 8 of the home buying process. So this is writing an offer. So you've done your search, you looked at a bunch of homes, and then you found the right one, the one that you love, and the one that you're ready to place an offer on. So I'm gonna go through the basics of writing an offer, what's in an offer. Well, there's a lot in an offer. I'm gonna go through like the main points, and if you have any more questions, you can reach out. So how low can you go? Probably the question I get every single time. So what's the lowest you can go on a house? And there's a bunch of variables to this answer. There's a lot of dependabilities. So how long has it been on the market? If you look at comparables, as I was talking about in the recent video, other houses that sold in the area, it's possible sometimes houses overpriced. So if you go 50 grand under a house that's 50 grand overpriced, then you're not technically going too low. The way I see it is if you can justify it, then you can go as low as you possibly need. Maybe like you never know, right? Days on market are also an indicator. How long has it been on the market? Usually the market dictates how much a house is worth, whatever someone's willing to pay for it. And you can put an offer in. If it gets declined, there's no harm, no foul. But you got to be careful to not waste people's times, the seller's times, get their hopes up. I'm saying that very loosely because it's not really wasting time unless it's just like some sellers will get insulted. So it's hard to kind of judge that. I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't put an offer. Just in some situations, talk to your realtor about it. They can help you through that. Closing date. So that's the day that you want to get the keys. If you're negotiating an offer, which I'll talk to you about in the next video, then there could be some changes with the closing date, but you get to pick whatever day. So maybe a Friday, so you get the weekend to move in, or maybe your rent is, your last month's that you have to pay rent is due at the end of the month, so you want to do maybe a week before that, so you have some time, a layover, so you can move some things. So that gets to be picked. Irrevocable, this is another important one. You can play with that one as well. So irrevocable is the amount of time that they have to make a decision. So maybe you put an offer in at noon, and it's going to be, there's a bunch of showings on it the next day, so maybe you put the irrevocable 8 p.m. that night. So they forces the sellers to make a decision before they get all those showings the next day. So that's a tool that you can use. It all depends on the situation. Again, talk to your realtor about that. But that again is when they have a decision. After that irrevocable time period, then the offer goes null and void and it's not valid anymore. Conditions. So in an offer, you always have conditions. So once an offer is accepted, it's not fully applicable yet, and it's not binding yet until you fulfill these conditions. The seller will be binding to that agreement, but you as the buyer will not until you fulfill these conditions. So there's financing, and in Sudbury, average is about 7 business days. So depending on the situation, again, there's a lot of variables, but usually 7 business days for a regular one offer on a house. So you have 7 days for financing. Once it's accepted, you send it to your banker or your mortgage broker. Home inspection. So usually you get the home inspection done after you get financing because you don't want to pay the $350 to $500 for the home inspection and then not get approved for financing, right? So that wouldn't make sense. So usually you book that after you get the financing approved. And I'll go through the home inspection in a later video as well. Insurance, you have to have insurance on a home, so make sure you get that. I was talking in the previous video about knob and tube, so there's certain instances that you maybe can't get insurance, but you also want to make sure that you can get it, but also at a good price. And then there's other conditions that you can add in depending on your situation. Maybe you have a house to sell, so you have to put a condition of selling a home. It's called an SPP. Maybe the sellers want to put a suitable accommodation, or maybe there's other things such as remove junk from the house. There could be a whole variety of them, or maybe you want them to service the furnace before or switch out the furnace, add this, add that. So there's other conditions that could be added in depending on the situation. And that's about it for writing an offer. Obviously there's way more paperwork than that. I can't go through it all in this video, but I went through over the main points of the offer. And one more thing is there's a $1,000 deposit, or 1,000, it could be whatever the deposit, but in Sudbury, basically the rule of thumb is $1,000. And you send that once it gets accepted. It's a show of good faith. But if the offer doesn't go through, say your financing doesn't work out, you have to back out of the offer, you get that $1,000 back. So don't think you're losing it, but it's just a show of good faith that you're willing to buy this house if all the conditions go through. So there you go. Any questions, please feel free to let me know. On to step 9.